As always, today's podcast is sponsored by Fire Facilities, makers of reliable, all-American steel fire training structures built the way you train. Fire Facilities towers, burn rooms, and mobile units help you prepare to respond and survive. Welcome back to 3-Point Firefighter. Today's guest is Jeremy Sanders. You know Jeremy from Crew First Culture. Now, Jeremy has been a firefighter for the City of Edmond in Oklahoma for 21 years, and he currently serves as the rank of captain. Now, he lives near Tulsa with his wife, Erika, who he shares 8 kids with and 1 grandson. In 2020, Jeremy created Crew First Culture and the Crew First Culture podcast, in which he shares the importance of the pursuit of personal daily growth. The daily growth has helped him to not only become a better firefighter and a better officer, but also a better dad and a better husband at home.
It's the same thing. You got to figure out where you're going, where you want to be, and you got to just start making the best decisions as you can. And when you mess up, you own it, you correct, and you keep going. That's you just breaking it down as easy. It's funny that you say that. I'm trying to finish up an article right now that's called, how to fly airplane while you're building it. That's what it feels like. You're leading a crew and you don't really know how to lead a crew. How are you going to do that? Or you're changing culture and you barely know what the word culture means. How do you do that? But just breaking it down into that, it takes a vision. It takes buy-in. So taking care of your people, and it takes consistency. And that's been the hardest one for me, is that consistency, because there's a lot of things that I want to throw out there that are important and that I know we need to be doing. But when it comes to actually me doing the work and me pushing it constantly, it's not that easy. So I've got to really find out if this is truly important to me and I feel like it's important to us, then I better be the person pushing it, at least until I can get some solid buy-in to where I'm getting help. But at first, it's not their vision, it's mine. I've got to be the one doing that work. And so, yeah, that's kind of a big deal for me, just that journey that I've been on.
So you're more crew first culture. You're just crew centered, and you're hoping it's going to spread a little bit. For me, as an admin, I'm of the mindset, and I know this isn't right. I'm just going to share my mindset with you. My mindset for changing a culture at my level would be through policies and rules and regs. I don't think that's the right way to do it, but that's like where my toolbox is. I'm like, sweeping change through paperwork, but paperwork is absolutely useless if it works against the number one thing, which is keeping our citizens safe. Number 2 thing, keeping us safe. And number 3, if it's not even enforced, what's the point, right? Yeah. So I've been fortunate enough to go around and teach different places, and I've seen some fantastic cultures. I've seen some struggling cultures. Haven't seen really any horrible cultures. I mean, I just haven't. But I think of, whenever I think of culture and change, I think the one unicorn has got to be Pearland, Texas, with Chief Jay Taylor and Jacob Johnson. Yeah. They to hear them talk about it, what they were able to do in such a short amount of time, as far as bringing culture not only back better but stronger. But to be fair, I haven't been down there and met some of those firefighters they work with. It can't be that hard. They got some fantastic people down there. Yeah. But, it just, right now, it seems like to me that culture is such a hot button issue, and everybody has such a different view of what it is. So how do you apply a subjective term to an objective task? You just, I don't know that you can. But,
just like personally, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead. You're more important than me. Trust me.
No. Well, just speaking personally through my department, we have got, and I don't even know what the total is right now. I know it's well north of 500 and probably coming close to 600 pages of policies and procedures.
Ooh.
So you saying that, I'm not arguing with you at all. That plays a role in this whole thing. But to those that think that they can solve it by strictly putting out paperwork, I promise you, it's not going to happen,
Nope.
because nobody is going to. That's not going to motivate anybody. It's not
Mm-mm.
going to inspire anybody. And so for me, I think just that, focusing on that purpose, focusing on a mission and the connection that we have there, and the blessings we have of the job we got, just keeping it positive and really having, going back to that connection. That is one of the biggest words probably of this year for me, is connection, because it's played such a huge role in my life, especially this year. And I now see that, gosh, it is absolutely critical to anything good in the fire service. If
Mm-hmm.
you aren't working on your connections, as far as your people and your department, your shift, whatever it is, nothing else is going to be making big strides, because you might be gaining incremental, good things here and there, but you're never going to reach a full potential that you can if you don't have a good connection with, whatever group you're working with.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to start there.
Yeah. I like your word consistency too. You said earlier about talking about consistency, and
Yeah.
we are in the process right now of doing a fitness program. So again, as the admin, I am coming at it because that's a culture change too. We don't have
Oh yeah.
that's huge, right?
Absolutely.
So I start building policy and stuff like that, like I was talking about, in hopes to change the culture. But then it boils down to this: if my chief officers above me came in and worked out every day, I wouldn't need a policy, would I?
Exactly. Yep.
They set that
Exactly.
example, and then
Yep.
they're consistent with it, and I think that would be way better than having a piece of paper. I really
Yep.
truly do. But what if the bottom is not with it? What if the top part aren't with it? Then that's where that paperwork has to come in. But it's
Yeah.
still useless. It's useless if it doesn't serve the needs of the citizens and doesn't serve the needs of the firefighters, in my opinion.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. And that's where I've struggled, like I said, with that consistency. And I think one of the things, if you would have asked me, oh shoot, well, I guess 14 years ago now, before I was an officer, when I was still just a driver, what would be your biggest obstacle to overcome to be a good officer? And I would have told you without hesitation, just my propensity to avoid conflict. I hate conflict. I've always been somebody who did whatever they could to avoid conflict. And I know that's not going to go well if you are somebody in charge of people. And so
yeah,
that has been, obviously something I've had to really grow in. And man, it it is it's very hard to be consistent in something you don't enjoy or you're not good at, or whatever. But it's not as hard as it is when you work so hard to gain some ground culture wise, and you got your firehouse culture making good strides and getting some momentum, and then you absolutely, the brakes get shoved on, and you're now losing momentum and you're losing
yeah,
ground. And it's because you didn't stay consistent in the areas that you should be. You didn't hold other people accountable for the things that they are not living up to the standard at. Whatever it is, that was a lot harder for me. And so I started realizing, I not that I enjoy conflict now, but I would rather engage in whatever is needed, instead of just sitting back and letting the wheels fall off and losing everything that we've worked so hard to gain. And so it just comes down to cost. What are you willing to pay, and what are you willing to really have to deal with? Because you're going to have to pay sooner or later. It's either going to be now, or it's going to be in the future, when you lose some good things that you were really hoping to gain.
absolutely. And I have seen it um, before, where company officers would just rather not deal with the crew, an individual. We'll just say it's an individual. They don't want to interact. They're like, oh, I can't do anything with them. I got this dud, and there's nothing I can do, and blah blah blah. And maybe we'll just say they're. Well, we talked about PPE. They don't wear their PPE right, and you've told them, and you've gave them verbals or whatever, and they're not going to do it. And I've seen officers that go, you know what, I'm done. And I'm like, that's not a luxury you have. You're an officer. You're the captain. That's your crew.
Yeah.
You don't have a luxury of quitting. I mean, you figure it out. You have plenty of resources. If you can't handle it within your company, then you got resources outside of your company. But I'm like you. I'm not a big fan of conflict. And what has really changed my outlook on any type of leadership, not that I do it perfectly. Matter of fact, I'm probably a better example of a don't than a do, but I'm still in there playing.
Yeah.
There are two books that have nothing to do with firefighters, but I think are absolutely crucial to leadership. And the first one is I'm going to tear it up here. Let's see. Crucial Conversations. It was a bestseller, and it's how to have those difficult conversations. And so the four main, and I'm paraphrasing. I wasn't really prepared to talk about it, but say there's four main things. One is picking the time. What time are you going to sit down and talk to this person? What's the location? Because you can control that.
Yeah.
Two is stating your objective facts. Hey, listen, you're not wearing your gear. We were on that last run. You're not wearing your gear correctly. And three is, where does that lead you to a conclusion? You'd say, well, you weren't wearing your gear correctly. I'm starting to think that you don't care about your own safety, but you're not even taking into consideration our safety.
Yeah.
And then four is you listen to their story. What's their side of it, right? Because
Yeah.
there might be a reason.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend that book. It's great, especially if you don't like conflict like myself. And then the other one is Emotional Intelligence 2.0. And it's the ability to be self-aware, knowing how you affect people, how people affect you, and how the social aspect plays in. You tie those two things together for people like you and me that don't really like conflict, and it's like a roadmap. It's really, I start looking for reasons. I try to pick fights with the old lady so I can use them, and it never works out. She never lets me win. She actually teaches that.
She's probably read Emotional Intelligence 3.0. You just didn't even know it.
She's living in the year 3000, brother. I ain't going to win. She does teach Crucial Conversations, though. She actually is certified to teach that class, so I can never win. She's like, are you trying to state your objective facts? I'm like, gosh darn it.
Quit using big words. You're making me feel dumb.
Yeah, no. I'm a dumb old boy from Kentucky, man. Leave me alone. But I think it's important, though, that we have that. I love it. Consistency, man. That's it. Consistency on everything. Consistency on training. Consistency on trying to maintain a good crew culture. I love it. I love it, brother. One of the things when I listen to your podcast, when I listen to you talk, is your honesty. I mean, it's refreshing. It inspires me to be more honest about things I've done wrong. So I always go back to that third episode. I want everybody to listen to all your podcasts. They're all fantastic. I want everybody to listen to them and the ones you've been on, especially 3-Point Firefighter. And but you mentioned in there, you were so honest about this run you were going to make. It was a structure fire, and you were training, and you were a couple blocks away. Why don't you tell my brothers and sisters listening a little bit about that? Because that was open and honest, brother.
Yeah, that was a hard that was a hard lesson to learn. That was a hard thing to overcome. So yes, it was a weekend. So we were out of district. We had a whatever you call it, a donated house that we were kind of able to do whatever we wanted to, except tear it up and burn it. But we don't get those very often, and so when we do, we really try to freaking wear it out. At least our crew, because it's such an amazing tool to really do so many different things. But so we were out there. We were doing VES drills and laddering the building, and structure fire comes in, and it's literally, shoot, I bet it was probably 4 or 5 blocks away. I don't know for sure, but it was not very far away. So, here we are in somebody else's district about to just smoke them on a first in fire, and it would have been so awesome. And so
Because
of
you could
course
rub
we
it in the
have to.
face.
Oh yeah. And so we have to throw our ladders back on. So it does take us a little bit to kind of get squared away and get moving. But we jump in and shoot, we even got our gear on already. So it's almost like the easy button was just there. All you got to do is push it.
Yeah.
And this thing is just laying in my lap, just ready to unwrap. And I pull up the computer to look at it. And I think, I got it figured out. Go so and so, take left, blah, blah, blah. And uh, as we get closer to this address, it's on a mile section, but just probably 50 feet on the other side of that mile section is a railroad track. And there's not many crossings of this railroad track. And for some reason, I tell my driver to keep going right on, right over the railroad tracks. And of course, as soon as I do that, I realize it's not where we need to be. And there is no fast way to get this corrected. We are stopping, backing up into a different street, it's a mess. And so as we're doing this, of course, there goes the first in engine that should have been first anyway,
Right.
blows by us. I don't even know now. We might have even been third. I don't remember. We were second or third in. Uh, it is a weird situation to where I don't even know what happened, but some type of small explosion. They basically walked a lady out that was, obviously in the middle of whatever was going on. So I'm sitting there watching somebody do the stuff that we should be doing. I've got a brand new guy that we've never fought fire with that it was waiting on his first fire. Just all these things were like, oh my gosh, I want to strangle myself. And so I found and my guys got to at least go do medical on the patient. So they were helping do something good. I'm sitting there in the front yard holding some freaking dogs. That was my assignment. And all I could think the whole time was like, this is what you deserve. You deserve to sit here and hold dogs while everybody else is doing fun stuff. And you're an idiot. And man, you don't. I'm the type of person that I don't have to get beat on by somebody else to know, I screwed up. I
Yeah.
know it, and nobody's going to beat on me harder than myself. And I really that hung over my head for a while, and I finally realized, okay, I feel like the only way I'm going to get past this is just throw it out there, just just admit what I did, tell whoever wants to listen the story, how I screwed it up, and maybe somebody will get some good out of the stupid thing that I did. And so, and it did. As soon as I put it out there, it was like a weight lifted off of me. And I know at that point, there's nothing I can do to make it better. It's already happened and gone.
I hope you're enjoying the podcast. Do me a quick favor, drop a like on it, hit subscribe so you will know when a brand new episode drops. Now back to the podcast.
All I can do is better make sure it doesn't happen to me again. But still, it took that to truly unload it from myself. And I don't remember what the podcast name was, but I remember very clearly making a picture for my social media post where I talked about it too, and it says every fire is our game 7, and I blew it. Basically, is what that said, and that's truly how I felt. It's like I freaking blew it, and especially with all the other factors that were circling that whole thing. It was just it was hard to it was hard to chew on that for a while, but in the end, hopefully it's out there, and if anybody ever listens to it, whenever, maybe they'll learn something from it, and some good will come of it.
Well, I know I've heard it a couple times now, and it's inspiring to know that people like you aren't afraid to say, you know what, I screwed up, and not only did I screw up, but I'm gonna put it out there for the world to see, so you don't have to screw up. And to me, that's true brotherhood. That's putting them before you, and I admire you for it. And that's, I mean, it's I started the podcast with how I thought when I found you were just a podcast. That's what I thought. I had no idea this enormity that you do. You do classes, you write articles. You do a podcast, you do everything. So I want to ask you a couple of things about your classes. And so I'm gonna give you. I'm gonna say the names. I want you to tell me a little bit about them because I want people to go to your website, crew1stculture.com, check it out, and hopefully get a hold of you because I guarantee you these are quality classes. So here's the first one, and I'm so intrigued just by the title, man. You're great at titles, by the way. It says, "Why are you here?" It's just that simple. Tell us about that class.
So that one started as, I wanted to create a class for really my home department rookie school. That you get these rookie classes coming in, and I wanted to create a class that got well beyond the normal stuff they're going to be learning and hearing about in rookie school. And the meat of it, if I was going to cliff note it down, is just that question. Because I remember when I was new, even though it was over 2 decades ago, and I remember somebody asking, and I couldn't tell you who it was, but I remember somebody asked, "Why do you want to be a firefighter?" And of course, the first person said, "Well, I want to help people." And now that answer's out there, you're not going to say anything else. Everybody, I want to help people. I want to help. I want to help. And so, okay, that's great. I'm not discounting that. I'm not saying don't do that. What I am saying is that if that's all you have, if that's the only reason that is in your heart and in your mind that you are a firefighter, within a year of going to lift assists and human excrement calls and on and on and on, whatever, helping people is going to be out the window. You're going to be like, screw people. I'm done with people. I don't want to help people anymore. And then you have nothing to lean on. You know what I mean? And so to me, it's got to be deeper than that. There's got to be a why far, far deeper in your heart than that. That is important. That is a big piece of it. But you have to have other things to really stabilize that, or else that by itself is not going to withstand the test of time. And so for me, I want to get in there and share my why. Tell them, maybe you don't know the answer to this right now, and I'm not expecting you to come up with it instantly. But this is something that took me 20 years in the service to figure out, and I don't want it to take that long for you. I want you to start thinking about it right now, because there were a lot of down times and struggles in my career that I may have avoided if I had that why to stabilize me. But that's really kind of the easiest way to sum it up, is just some really deep things that aren't, as far as what I've ever heard, it just really aren't discussed in that type of environment. So I want to prepare these people mentally, just like they were getting prepared physically and skill wise and all that by the training staff. I want them to also be prepared mentally for what they're about to step into.
You know, eh, Two things come to mind. The first one is, how cool would it be to you ask that question to you brand new people, "Why are you here?" and videotape it, and then each year ask them the same
Yeah.
question, and
Yeah.
then at the end of their career, look at that and see, okay, did that shore you up? Did your why change? It's okay if your why changes,
Oh yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
but I think that owns a little accountability too, because I always say like around 5 years, people become the
Yeah.
firefighters they're going to be, more or less. You get 5 years on the job, then you're like, okay, that's, if they're riding couches, they're going to ride couches the rest of their career. If they're up in training, they'll probably keep up training. So that makes me think of that. And the second thing is, you just pulled a thought out of my head from the '90s, bro. So check this out. You melted my head with this one. I was reminded while you were telling that story. I haven't thought about this in a long time. When I was in the military as a firefighter in the Air Force, we had a sergeant, Staff Sergeant John Solis, great guy, super great. And I remember the time I was asking him why he became a firefighter. And he had the best answer ever. He said, when I was a kid, I saw there's a house across the street caught fire, and I saw the firefighters pull up and jump off the trucks and pull the hose and go in and pull the fire, put the fire out. He saw that, but the last thing he said about it though is what sticks. He said, "And I thought that was a noble profession," and that's all he said. And I'm like, "That's a good why. That
Yeah.
is a good why." I'm
Doesn't have to be complicated,
noble.
man.
No,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be. No, and it's
No.
like I said, it's okay to change. If you say I want to help people, I think it's cute when brand new firefighters say that because they have no idea. Like to your point, you're going to be lift assist, and it's going to be smells and bells. So if it's to help people, sometimes it's making that run where they call 911 because they're too lazy to change their own oxygen tank, and you
Oh
have to
yeah,
do it.
absolutely. Yep.
I remember a lady calling to get her she couldn't get a bracelet off, and we had to go do it. You know, but I was mad. I remember my boss handled it great. I was mad. I was a young, stupid fireman. But if that's your why, that's what helping people looks like. Now, if you're going to
Yep.
tell me I just want to go into burning buildings, that's a different story. That's very limiting too. But
Yeah.
when you say I want to help people, then mean it. Then help people. Anyway, I love it. I love it. Some of your other classes, Firehouse Essentials from Character to Culture. What's that one about? That sounds
So
like it could
that
start
is
fights.
probably good. Yeah, absolutely. Uh, that's basically, I talked about the journey of going from, to be honest, it was the worst crew on our department. There's no sugarcoating that, to something to be proud of. That's the journey that me and my crew have been on for, shoot, I guess 5.5 years now, almost 6 years. And like I said, it was a very slow process. And even to just start to see some light at the end of the tunnel, it took a long time. But that class really kind of digs into that process, that journey, what what it took to start gaining ground and momentum, what it took to get buy-in from people that originally weren't bought in, what it really took from me to make mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake, and slowly start to learn my lesson, over time. And just it's just that whole process. And like you said, you asked me what it takes to change a culture in a department. Well, it doesn't matter really. You ask most people, if they aren't just nerds of culture, like some of us, to even say, how do you change, or just define culture, or just define a good culture, or what is a firehouse culture that you would want to be at look like? Those questions are hard to answer for a lot of people. And so, to really, the this class is just my way of giving everything I've got from the past 6 years, and just laying it out there, and hoping that I can impress upon somebody something in that journey to help them on theirs, or to maybe clarify some things, or just add value to people that are in there. And that's kind of the premise of that.
I love it. I love it. And again, you're laid bare there. I mean, you're like, look, you don't have to make my mistakes. The power of balance, unlocking your full potential in leadership and in life. I've noticed, especially with your intro, some people some people are just they're firefighters and they don't talk about their family. I'm one of those guys. I don't on anything. I keep my family separate from my job. I don't have a reason. Like if you were to ask me why I did that, I guess just because I've always done that. I know it's a horrible, horrible answer. I've always done it this way. You're not that guy. So you intertwine your fire life with your family, and that's awesome. And it looks here like that's exactly kind of what you're talking about: power of balance, unlocking your full potential in leadership and in life. So would I be wrong on making that assumption?
No, that is part of it. There's kind of a few parts to that one. What you're talking about is that absolutely a big piece of that. And yet again, another area that I've really struggled in. I've got a terrible ADHD mind, that
Me
you
too.
talk about all the things I am involved in. That's why. It's not because I'm great at anything. It's just I'm involved in a lot of crap. I can't focus on anything. But excuse my leg is going to sleep here. But
Oh, it's going to be up all
uh,
night now.
uh, so yeah, that finding that balance between the family that I love and the job that I love, but now throw in the mix of the purpose that I now see for myself, which involves a lot of that job that I love, and things outside of the job, and just just trying to keep a balance that is healthy and covers all my priorities. It's a struggle. Absolutely, every day is a struggle. So that, yeah, that is a big piece of that. Another big piece of that is something that I've really got excited about, kind of as I started digging into it, is the balance between almost contrasting characteristics. Like you take strength and vulnerability. So you look at a strong, somebody you would call a strong leader, completely different from somebody you would call that guy. He's just really comfortable being vulnerable. Well, usually those two don't mesh. But when you could get somebody that is truly comfortable being vulnerable and putting himself out there, but at the same time is a strong leader and is just somebody that puts that air out there, man, that is a powerful, powerful mix. And so that's kind of what that gets into. And you got humility and confidence, which is another one of my favorites. Somebody that is able to maintain a level of humility, but at the same time, they're very confident and competent in what they do. It's like you just want to follow those people. That is the type of people I want to be around. And so that's kind of really where that title came from, is truly grabbing the power of balancing these things. It's not one end or the other where the true goal is. It's right there in the middle. If we can find a balance between home and work, if we can find a balance between these character traits that are they're so different from each other, that it's a very impressive mix that I really started to really want to kind of model myself after.
Wow, I love it. What about impact beyond the firehouse walls?
So that is something that has been evolving, and I would say, you know, I just described my mind, and I have realized that if you want to keep doing this speaking thing, you got to kind of at least have a foundational something. You can't just bounce around and say, "Well, this is a new class I made, bring me in." Well, people want to know that you've given it, and people want to know that it's being received well, especially the bigger places. And so this has become, I think, that flagship for me. And the name has even seems like it's changed over and over again, just because the message within it is changing. But it's all about, again, it's about my journey, but this time it's about my journey away from work. It's about my journey of just trying to find a way to add value to people's lives, just trying to use what I have in my story to figure out why I'm here, that my purpose, and just truly pouring myself into that purpose and pursuing it and trying to make a difference in a big way. And I want to share that because it's not just the big names that have a powerful story. It's not just the Navy SEALs that come out that have a powerful story that are going to help people. It's not just the big city firemen that have 42 grabs and 7,000, 1,400,000 fires under their belt that are
Mm.
going to impact people. We all have a specific story, a specific life, a specific events that we have been through and struggles that nobody else can replicate, nobody else can feel. And so this class is really my way of hoping to inspire anyone that will listen to make an impact of your own, to make a difference of your own, to help people in whatever way you're made to help people. And that, like I said, this is probably the biggest area that I am just truly throwing myself into right now. Just that idea of purpose and of the mission and everything like that. I just I think that it's so big for people to really kind of keep in mind. It goes back to the why. You know, all these things are all tied in together. But and I mentioned it on the scrap with Corley Moore. A saying kind of came into my head, and I made some bracelets with it on there because it's so powerful to me. But it says perfectly made for a I wouldn't want to screw it up. Perfectly made for an extraordinary purpose. And
I,
so, like I
I got it
told
right
him,
here. Yeah.
I don't know if that's exactly like the new name for this class that it keeps evolving, but that truly is so powerful to me because that's where everybody in the world is right now. You were perfectly made, as screwed up as you might be, as screwed up as I am, perfectly made for that purpose, and that purpose, whatever it is extraordinary, and nobody else can do it. And so, like I said, that's kind of the base of that. And I don't even know how long it's been since I've updated that. It's probably needing to be updated just because the direction has changed a little bit. But it's always kind of in that same lane of just the impact and the purpose and the just chasing better for yourself and making a difference.
I love that, brother. That need chasing chasing a better for yourself. It should be a T-shirt right there, man. That's awesome. I cannot tell you how much I've appreciated your time today. I've been looking forward to this. You know, I've been trying to make this happen, but I've just my scheduling was so screwed up because I didn't give you the priority you should have been. So I apologize for that. But this has been a
No, no.
blast, man.
Yeah, you
Now
bet.
we haven't even touched on your articles.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make sure I post your articles on my social media when this comes out, and I want everybody to go to either I'll listen to you on Spotify. Go to his podcast, Crew First Culture with Jeremy Sanders. It's on Spotify, it's on Google, it's on Apple, it's on all major platforms. Just pick any one. Pick any one of them. I promise you, you are going to love it. Then after you listen to his podcast, you get one, you're going to get hooked. You're going to listen to a ton of them. After that, I want you to go to Crew One ST. That's the number one, Crew One ST culture at I'm sorry, crew1stculture.com and go look at his website. There's nothing but great information on there. And I tell you right now, go to his merch because I tell you what, if you love the job, if you truly love the job, if you truly put your citizens first, you're going to want to show people that. And that's what his merch is all about. He didn't ask me to plug any of this, people. I'm telling you, he gave me zero input on any of this stuff. So I'm not saying this because he asked me. I believe in his message. I believe in his website. He cares. He's a brother. Brother Sanders, thank you for your
Thank
time.
you. I appreciate
Man,
it, man. This is the first time I actually talked with you face to face, and never even got to shake your hand yet. But I appreciate the new connection that I've made with you, and look forward to many more conversations for sure. Enjoy it.
buddy, I'm going to listen to your podcast and bug you down. Whenever I hear one, I'll say, hey, man, I just listened to this
Let's
podcast.
go.
I'm going to be a thorn. I promise you, brother. But
That's
I
fine.
appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you.
All right. Stay safe, brother.
You too.
Our podcast today was sponsored by Fire Facilities. This Made in America company is dedicated to constructing top quality custom training structures to meet your needs. Make your training count with all steel structures that are made to last. Visit firefacilities.com for more details.